Hello and welcome everyone to a new episode of the Big Growth Podcast. Today I have with me Michael Frank. He's the CEO at Gildre. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Can we begin by giving us a quick introduction about yourself and Gildre?
Sure. Michael J. Frank. I am the one of three co-founders of Gildre. We've been in business a little over 2 years. My other co-founders are millennials. Brian's out of Chicago and Tiger's out of Missoula, Montana. Although spends a lot of time in Venezuela because it's nice and fun and the weather's great down there.
Amazing. And what originally inspired you guys to start Gildre?
I was mentoring startups at New Chip. It was an accelerator of Austin, Texas. Half a dozen of them, mainly fintech. Brian was working at the accelerator, and Tiger was also working there. And I interacted with Brian on a regular basis. And out of nowhere, one day, they couldn't make payroll, and the company sort of collapsed and eventually went into bankruptcy after being very successful for, I think, 5 or 6 years. And while I was talking with Brian, who was always super nice to me, we started talking about what he's going to do and what Tiger's going to do. And they're like, oh, we're thinking of doing something. And we thought through it and decided that an accelerator maybe wasn't the right thing because we didn't know if they'd come out of bankruptcy and we didn't want to compete with them. And we decided to build a community. And we just said, all right, let's, a third, let's go. So it was two millennials and a baby boomer.
Interesting. So the collapse of a company inspired you to start your own company. Didn't that make you a bit scared?
Lots of companies collapse. Lots of companies go out of business. I was previous to this a long time ago, and we can go into it later, a trader on the floor, and you dealt with risk all the time. I was involved in Investments, a digital wealth management platform, and the CEO's wife got deathly sick, and that sort of was the end of us. So, as Forrest Gump in a famous movie says, shit happens, and you just got to keep moving on and keep doing it. So, no, I like Brian was great, and Tiger was great, and they're still great. It's good to work with them.
Nice. And how did you guys get the ball rolling in these early days?
We got on typically a Zoom call or a phone call, and we did that for off and on for a couple weeks, talking about what's going on and what we should do and how we might do it and what is the best way to sort of start something and bootstrap something with not a lot of capital. And we came across the idea of starting a community of startups, and we knew enough people and enough stuff, and we sort of said, let's do it. So we just, drew up some paperwork and threw in $900 a piece, and away we went.
Was there a turning point where things really started to click for you?
Like anything, it's so hard building a company and doing things. We are currently over 2 years in, but probably less than that because it takes time to build everything. We wanted to have a bunch of mentors on the platform. So we're now 250 to 270 people, maybe 75 startups in 19 countries, large groupings in Canada, Boston, New York, Chicago, Boston, San Fran, LA. But we're in Lagos, we're in Australia. So, at this point, we want to get to 500 members and then 1,000 members.
Numbers sound great. I think you already have good numbers and you'll get to 500 soon enough. So, if you are to look back right now, is there something you wish you would have done differently when you were just starting to get the word out? Would something that would have accelerated your growth?
Like everything, you can always look back and decide on different things you could have done. And we're always learning. We have our own podcast. We have our own Instagram channel. We have our own TikTok channel. But, all this takes time. Like, how many hours in a week are there? Like, I work 50 to 52 hours a week, Monday through Friday, Saturday, full day, Sunday, a couple hours. Brian has another company in the serial entrepreneur. I'm guessing he works 80 hours a week. That's just not enough hands. I mean, AI has certainly helped things more recently, and we've used some, different softwares to improve things. But no, nothing in general that I would say we could have done at the time that would make things, better now. Like this, yeah, like everything, right? Like you learn as you're building things, you're learning and learning and learning. So
Yeah, I understand. So there's no perfect way to doing it. You learn as you go, of course. So, what I'm curious, who do you find is the most drawn to what you do?
are you asking who who would have more interest in Gildre, the community?
Yes.
We have a pretty decent smattering of people. We have mentors who come here to mentor for free. They have maybe had multiple exits. Maybe they worked at Google and Meta for many, many years. They want to give back. They want to stay in the game. They want to see what people are building. Maybe they want to be on an advisory board. Maybe they're looking to invest as an angel. We have other people here that are just here to network and be around people. We do a monthly speed networking. We do a weekly introduction, if you'd like, to other people in the community based on sort of hashtags. We have a lot of startups, but if you're going to join a community, you can't just have your head down and be grinding every second, because that's just not healthy and it doesn't work. You have to have interest in attending our events. We're about to wrap up a part four of a 4 month of product market fit with a great mentor and a great executive workshop. We previously did marketing with 4 episodes over 4 months, 4 innovation workshops, and it always surprises me who shows up and who sort of doesn't. If you're going to join a community and whether it's $59 a month or whatever it might be, use it. Well, there's people there that have lots of experience. Ask them in the Slack what's going on. We offer office hours. So you can have office hours for Brian, Tiger, me. You drop right into my calendar. And it surprises me who shows up and who doesn't. On my LinkedIn, if you look at it, I charge $800 an hour for well-heeled people. I'm on 4 advisory boards. So people who are deep pockets, that's what I would want them to pay. Gildre, you sort of get me for free, right? You get half an hour with me for free. Like, to me, it's just crazy that you wouldn't want to, or Brian or Tiger and their experience on different subject matters. But some people just don't use the community properly. Other people take full advantage of it. And there's lots of things we do. Like in our Slack, we have a channel called Hype House. If you post something on LinkedIn, you put the URL there, and everyone who's in there will go up and like it and comment and things to try and bring some visibility. And with my 23,000 plus connections, I'm happy to comment and sort of give them some visibility, and who knows what that brings to them.
So you mentioned that you have been surprised by who ends up showing up or not showing up. Are there some common traits that you notice amongst the people who do show up and use the community as it should be used to their advantage?
People who want to continuously learn, people who want to do things that are proactive. Always learning is one of my mottos, always listening. So, there's lots of things you could do. I listen to only one podcast. It's called All In. I've been listening to it for 4 years. I wait for bated breath on Friday for it to drop. More recently, I did a 5 episodes on AI in Washington. These things are like, I'm always on. My son says to me, "You're always on." Like, yeah, I'm always thinking about business. I'm always networking with people. I'm always talking to people. I'm always trying to help people. I get people coming to me on my LinkedIn from high school, ask me for some time. I give them a link for 20 minutes. I talk to them. I help them for free. Like, just give them some inspiration. And we have in our community actually 2 high school students who are running pretty significant businesses. They're just not busy, doing some of the things other high school students are doing. And they want to do business, and maybe they're less concerned about uh, going to the next party and doing whatever's going on there, and more like they're just grinding already and they love it. So I'm going to say people who are proactive, who are looking to learn, looking to build, want to be around other people. That way, it inspires people and helps people. And when you're around people that are that kind of caliber, it just starts to rub off and you get things that are important.
So interesting part about the high school students. Do you have a lot of young members?
I guess it's what you call young. I'm on 4 advisory boards, and more recently, one of them is Silo Markets, and he's a YouTuber with 780,000 followers since age 15. He's 22 out of Austin, Texas. He started Silo Markets, and he's talking about he met someone who's an old guy, and then he told me the age, and then I went, oh, okay, he's about my age. So I'm going to say that, we have them from 17 up to 70. I don't know. Like, it's in general, most people building startups are 30, 25, 30, 35, 40. A lot of people have a full-time job and want to do something on nights and weekends, and they're just not satisfied. And it's smart. Like, if you're going to build something, never quit a job until you have a business up and running and real revenue, no matter how exciting it is, because In particular now with AI. I was just on a pod right before this. Andrew Young had on a guy, and they were talking about vibe coding and Lovable. And Lovable is the fastest growing startup in the history of mankind. I'm told 100 million in ARR. And you can now vibe code or talk to and build an app. I was just blown away. And I was like talking to my wife as we watch TV, and we're always having trouble with different things. I'm like, I want to build like an app that tells us when the shows we want to watch are popping on, the new series of Netflix and stuff. As always learning, I'm like, damn, I could do this myself. Like, I don't, like, if you understand English at this point, you can code. And,
Yeah.
what's going to come of that? I just think it only gets better and better and better.
It's very interesting. Like, I played around with Lovable. I built like an AI lawyer in 4 or 5 hours. Obviously, like at very minimalistic level of an MVP, but it's amazing what you can build with this tool. So yeah, when somebody learns about Gilder, what part of it usually gets them leaning in? How do you guys differentiate yourself from other online communities?
That's a good question. There's so many different communities that cost so many different prices. We try and just tell them what we have. We have an event every week, a executive workshop, an innovation roundtable, speed networking, introductions. There's just so many assets on our platform. But, other places, depending on what you're looking for, there's hybrid accelerators and things. We more recently just launched, I call Community in a Box. It's for venture firms to drop their cohorts directly into our community plug and play. So while they're making all these investments every year and they don't have time to help these people, why not put them in our community, have a higher probability of success? I don't know if there's any direct answer to, there's Vistage and other things that are $10,000 and $20,000 a year. It depends where you are. Our opening entree is $59 a month, then 99 or 150. Like if you can't afford $59 a month, and some people can't, um, I'm sorry, but like maybe give up your Starbucks at $8 a day, and make, yeah, like you saw me drinking iced tea. 6 bags of Lipton iced tea, 40 cents. I got a gallon once a week. I don't spend $10 at Starbucks, like unless I'm caught somewhere, out somewhere, like in caught in Penn Station coming out of New York City, which the other day cost me for a cookie and then a can of a bottle of iced tea, $10. That's what it is. But in general, I just rather use my money for things that are betterment for me, and then instead of buying these frivolous kind of things.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you look at it like that, like it costs less than a daily Starbucks coffee. It's crazy. And when you compare the benefits of a coffee and and the online community full of very experienced people, yeah.
I was
So
I met I'm on a bunch of boards. So I'm trying to get on a paid board seat. I'm older, and I'm like, this could be the next 10, 15 years of my career. So I meet a guy who ends up living in my town, and I'm like, I'll buy you a coffee. So we end up in some Egyptian coffee house that I didn't even know existed in my town. He gets a coffee. It smells great. I don't even drink coffee. I'm like, I need an iced tea. He's like, I don't have that. So I'm like, make an iced tea and give me ice. $22. I went like 2 items, and he says yes. So I just paid for it like I'm buying a guy a coffee. That's my fault for coming here. So I went home and did some searching and researching on AI, and I figured out that if you spend just $5 a day for 5 days in a week for the next 30 or 40 years, that equals about $40,000 of coffee or iced tea that's maybe at the time made you feel good or whatever. But had you invested it in the stock market, you'd have almost $1 million. So had you invested that time in yourself by joining a community and getting help, I mean, it doesn't have to be for building a company. Sometimes it's just career help, like, just talking to people who've been there and done that to help you. Maybe you need to ask for a raise. Maybe you need to understand how to talk to someone. There's lots of people who have that experience and can help you be more proactive.
hey, what do you think people often misunderstand about online communities in general, but especially related to like professional communities, entrepreneurship, and working professionals?
I think there's people don't even know they exist. There's people
Okay.
that don't understand it, don't know they exist, don't know they need help, and rely upon sometimes uninformed friends to do this kind of thing. I go to this company. It's a charity, and it's called the Alliance for Decision Education. And it's started by a former trader from the floor, and his new wife, and she's a professional poker player, and they are trying to teach people to make proper decisions, and they're starting in like middle school, even elementary school. Like, think through things. Like, don't just randomly do something. Think the positives, the negatives, what you get out of this, what you don't get out of this. Maybe write a little checklist or something like that, and make proper decisions. I had a friend's son who had a dog who wanted another dog, and decided that he's going to go buy a $2,500 dog, um, even though he couldn't afford it. And since he couldn't afford it, he took out payments on it at 28%. And then the dog got sick. And like, next thing you know, he's spending $6,000 a year. Like, how did you make this decision? You didn't even think about it. Like it's crazy. You could have not spent any money, gone down to the pound, rescued a pup for $59, and probably done a good thing for a dog that's probably going to be, you know, not around for a long time. But people just don't think about these things. Like make informed decisions. Think about things. Don't do spur of the moment things.
Think about the decisions. I really do believe a lot of people live most of their life on autopilot. So I wanna ask is there something you do or teach inside Gilder when it comes to making decisions?
Not something per se. Like, we have no class on that. We've had a lot of people come in and do different workshops, but no, like, if I'm talking to them, I just say try and be informed, try and talk to as much people as possible, try and make a decision, and and look at it, whether you have to write down a plus minus, or you're doing extra Excel spreadsheet, or however you're doing it. And then I'm also from the idea of never make a rash decision. And give it time and think about it. I wrote an article a while back, maybe a couple of years back. I call it the power of 72. When given something that's going on, unless it's like an emergency or health or someone stealing money and you have to close something down, don't make a rash decision. Give it 3 days, 72 hours. And over that period of time, when you're thinking about it, you will realize that. And sometimes I write the email, but I don't send it. And then I rewrite the emails. And by the time I get done, maybe I'm not even sending the email anymore. Maybe it doesn't matter. I'm not going to respond. It's not worth my time. Just move on. But try and think about it and make some decisions and talk to some people. I have a mentor. I have people I go to, like, hey, let me ask you a question. I was thinking this and this. Like, am I crazy to think this? What do you think? And then sometimes you hear other things. In fact, my son, certainly a millennial, thinks differently than me. And more recently, I was talking to him about, I had a call, and I have on Google a way to record all the calls now. It's part of the Google suite. So I had it clicked on, and I saw the person show up and then disappear. And I saw them flicker. And at first I'm like thinking, where'd they go? And then I'm like, oh, maybe they have some software issues. Maybe they're rebooting their computer. But I got an email maybe a couple minutes later. It said, I will not come on any call where someone's recording me. Now, for whatever the reasons are, they don't want it. They don't want their voice recorded, their face recorded. In this case, the Google records notes and gives you notes after. So I rebooked with her. I wrote her, hey, you just would have had to tell me. I would have just canceled it. I said to my son, am I doing something wrong? He's like, yeah. He says to me, you should start the call, and then 30 seconds into the call say, hey, do you mind if I turn on my note taker by Google? And then they're more than likely going to say yes, but you're giving them the respect of asking them first. Always learning. Went to my son. He knew more about this than me from his point of view, as a millennial. And now that's how I do things. So I don't just click it on. I say, hey, do you mind if I turn this on? And most of the time they say, no problem.
Inside. So you can learn from people younger, older, and in different professions. So there's always something to learn from the people you interact with.
I'm going to show you what's on the back of my phone, and I keep it there. It's like a little sticker stuck in there where it says,
Okay,
always
always learning, always listening.
listening, right? And I keep it there, always learning, always listening. I keep it there, and I sort of look at it, and I will give you a bit of advice. This is free advice for everyone. When you are speaking and you're meeting someone, or you're in a meeting, you're typically only repeating things you know. But when you're listening, you're learning. So God, or whoever you think is the higher power, gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. Shut up and listen, and never interrupt anyone when they're speaking until they finally done speaking. And then you count 1001, 1002, 1003, and then you either respond or speak or something. Because you get to learn. You get to give them the time that they deserve to say or tell you what they're talking about.
Interesting. So 2 years, 1 month, 1 mouth. Listen more.
Yeah. Listen and learn.
So, you know what I would like to learn? I believe you're doing something very brave about your subscription model. A lot of online communities, especially the ones that provide lots of value, decide to go for like one-time payment or an yearly payment that's more high ticket. So I'm curious, how do you guys go about ensuring people stay for more than 1 month?
We've had very few people come a month and leave, and maybe they're just coming a month to grab our investor list or our 10,000 angel list. I'm not sure. Maybe they joined and they just didn't even understand what they're joining, so they didn't go to any events or something. This is a good question. We discuss this. We meet every day for half an hour, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and each day is a different thing, product market fit, this, that. And we've been discussing this recently. And more recently, we just had a workshop, and what was it called? Yesterday. So it was a executive workshop, and it was a company that we talked to. It's called Forecaster, Forecastr. They raised 7.5 million bucks. I think they're Y Combinator graduate, and they were sort of talking about understanding your financials and preparing them when you're trying to raise capital. And they have a great platform. It's not cheap. I think it's 5 grand for the year. But at one point, he was going to the platform and he was talking about pricing. So we're $59 a month, and he was taking a hypothetical company and they were doubling the price to see what the retention would look like and what the revenue would look like and the valuation would look like. And it was kind of amazing because when they doubled the price, they had a little more churn, but they had way more revenue. And it basically told you through all the stats, and it's very complicated, and there's lots of stuff in there. But it allows you to understand pricing. Now, you can certainly price by, using different um, pricing on your platform. But in this case, the software allowed him to show us for that hypothetical company, and I'm sure there was a name behind it, he just wouldn't show it to us, what was going on there. And I was just shocked because we are regularly talking about $59 too much or too little. Why shouldn't we? And then we have 99 and we have 150. We are novices at it. We're all I'll call working partners, like people that can sell and people that can build and do things, but we never understood pricing properly. And we've been working on that more recently to understand pricing and where we should be. But we've looked at other communities. There's other communities that are 49, 59, 69. They offer different things. But understanding the value of your platform is important. You just can't simply guess. You have to have data and stuff. But now with AI and platforms like Forecast or other platforms, it's easier to get a hold of how to price it and where you should be.
Pricing conversation is very interesting, especially when it comes to membership, because you cannot play around with the price so much. Like when you sell something that's more like behind the scenes, maybe sold on calls, you can test different pricings. But how did you decide? How did you make an educated decision on the price? Like a list of pros and cons. I'm curious about the process.
We keep track of every other community we've ever run into. We have a spreadsheet. So anytime we run into another community, we put in the spreadsheet, we look at it, we look at the pricing, we see what they're offering, and we try and determine, are we offering more for the money than they are? And that's what, like, when we don't think this is going to become a unicorn, this is not something that we're going to make ridiculous amounts of money on. At $59 a month, and by the time you get done with all our expenses and stuff, there's not a lot left over. But we want to try and help people, maybe with our new community in a box offering and venture firms. Well, that may change the game, but I'm going to be honest and say we sort of just guessed, and that's not the right thing to do. So now, as we continue to go along, we more recently added a $99 option because we went 59 then 150, and we added a 99 that sort of took away some of the offering from the 59 and wanted them to upgrade to the 99 to get the podcast and the socials and more office hours and things like that. And we sold a couple of them since then. So we sort of just guessed in the beginning. And I think until we can understand it more and bring in, whether we're going to use Forecaster or not or something, I think it'll be based on what data we have from all the startups that are community startups or communities that we're looking at.
Okay, that opens up another question for me. So, you know that a lot of people say that don't overthink, try to move to make progress, make mistakes and learn from them, right? But how can you know when it's the right thing to just go ahead with maybe with a guess, maybe with the best educated guess you can do, or spend more time into one issue to make a more informed decision? like speed versus clarity, let's say?
I think if you have a product or something and you have an MVP, a minimal viable product, you should release it as soon as possible. Unless it's something so exciting and so new that you want to get a foothold before other people realize what you're doing. Because if you came out with something and other people are like, oh my God, this is amazing. They have more assets and more money and they could build the same thing and maybe it's not as good, but they have more ability to advertise it and you lose out. So a lot more people are staying in stealth till they garner some percentage of the business already. So they have a moat there where people are at least 6 months or a year behind. In this day and age of being able to vibe code like we are talking about before and stuff, who knows? Like I think the HubSpots and Salesforce of the world have a real reckoning coming because maybe Salesforce or HubSpot took years to build to where they are. But I think with AI and people using whether it's Microsoft or Claude or this or that to do these things, it is possible to build similar products and undercut these people. So I'm sort of very excited about the future, but also where people could spin up a company overnight with a vibe coding or not, or within a week or something. As a VC, do you want to invest in them? I think the answer is no until they show some traction. So I think it's changing the world. And I think VCs are, you know, they're either putting money into like Series C and D. I think the Series A plus or B is probably dead and more pre-seed and seed money is coming out there. But I'm just guessing. I just think AI is changing things dramatically and they don't have enough data. I'm a big fan.
Amazing insights. So I do have one last question for you, and this is more of a special question that's a bit open-ended. So if you could wave a magic wand and make one thing easier in business in general or related to growing Gildre, what would it be?
I guess I really like the direction we're going with the community in the box for venture firms, incubators, and accelerators. So if I was able to wave my magic wand and every VC firm in the world instantaneously heard about community in the box and had our 5-page deck there, I would be excited because I think the probability of their companies being successful, like if you're a VC and you invest, I don't know, 10, 20, 30 companies a year, and you do that for 2 or 3 years, and then you'll save some money for add-ons. You're hoping for one unicorn or a decacorn. 50 or 60% are probably going to go out of business, and maybe the others are not. But if you can put them in a community and you found out that the probability of success is increased dramatically, that may really add to your returns rather than having you just check in every 6 months and get their numbers to where they are. You had mentors like me and all the other people we have on the platform similar to me and office hours and these assets certainly makes a higher probability of success for them, as well as when they're talking to people who are being made offers by multiple VCs, telling them not only are we writing you a check, but we're going to have people sort of hold your hand and you're going to be in this community. I think it makes for a better return for them. So I let people know, Gilder exists and our community in a bank is their community in a box is there for their VC firm.
I guess reaching the VC firms isn't the easiest thing in the world. So I can understand why that would be a great thing to wave the magic wand upon. It's been an amazing conversation. I really appreciate all the insights you provided us here. And for you guys who are watching, you can go check out Gilder in the description in this video. We will link their website. And I want to thank you, Michael, for taking the time to record this and really appreciate it.
My pleasure. I used to say no to all the podcasts. Now I sort of try and say yes. I think it's important to be out there and educate people. And the more backlinks you get, the better. A pleasure being on. Thank you for your insightful questions.
See you next time.